Andrea Bienvenue. I am one of the admissions counselors here at STIC. My role as an admissions counselor is I work in admissions. I meet with students, I discuss programs, I discuss how to enter STIC, how to fill out applications, all that fun stuff. Dr. Gorman should be joining us at some point. She is the department chair for this program. And I usually start with the first half where we kind of just discuss the application, how to prerequisites, what does any of that mean? And then the second half, she'll jump in and talk a little bit more specifics about the program. At any point, if you have questions, do not hesitate to use the chat feature to ask those questions. And we will try and have those answered at some point throughout. If it's appropriate, we'll have it answered then. It may not be until right at the end. So what we're looking today is we're just going to discuss the prerequisites, a little bit about the program, specifics about the program, how all that kind of stuff works. So the PTA program is a 2-year associate degree program at STIC, 2-year full-time program. What we mean by full-time is expect to be on campus or expect to be participating in a full-time schedule. That's usually like a Monday through Friday, 12 to 19. 12 to 19. Oh, sorry. Here's Dr. Gorman that's joining us now. Hi, Dr. Gorman. We were just getting started talking a little bit of overview about the program. So 2 years full-time, expected to be kind of a Monday through Friday schedule, and then broken up to 4, maybe 5 semesters, depending on the students. They accept roughly about 18 students a year into the program. And the way that they decide on who is being accepted is based off of prerequisites and grades. So we're going to go a little bit more into depth when it comes to that. What I'm doing right now is what you can see is the screen that I'm sharing is actually the website. I do this not because I'm not prepared, not because I'm lazy. I do this because what's on the website is what it is. It's what we go by. It's essentially where all the most important information exists. So I do this just to be able to gravitate students towards the right location to get their questions answered. If they have any concerns, this is exactly where you would go. If we have any questions, this is exactly where we go. So the website is the most important place where you can get all of your information. What we're going to focus on today is we're going to start with going under applying to this program. Like I mentioned, it is a 2-year program. They accept roughly 18 students a year, and prerequisites has to be completed beforehand. So even though this is a 2-year program, with the prerequisite requirements, typically takes students from start to finish. Instead of 2 years, it may be more look like 3 or 4 years, depending on where they are educationally. This is a fall start only program. So what that means is this program will only start in the fall. So if you are not starting in the fall of 2021, the next opportunity for you to start for this program would be fall 2022. And then the deadline to apply for that fall program is March 31st. This year, what we have is set up is the deadline is March 31st. However, we will still continue accepting applications until the program has filled up. I don't recommend waiting, but it's because we never know what the applicant pool is going to look like. It can fill up fairly quickly, but that's what it's set up to be at the moment. So in regards to prerequisites, the first thing that we're looking for is we're looking for actually proof of high school completion. And this can be through a high school transcript, this can be a GED, or this can be a high set. It sounds weird that I have to include that, but we do. It's in the state of Massachusetts, you have to show proof of high school completion or its equivalency. The first prerequisite that we're actually trying to see, though, is actually an English requirement. So there are 3 ways of achieving this English requirement. That could be through 4 years of completion of high school English with a C or better. It can be through taking our placement exam and scoring into college level English. To take the placement exam, though, you have to be accepted to STIC. You have to be an accepted student at STIC. Or you can take English 101, which is probably the most common route that students take. So English 101 with a C or higher. The next prerequisite requirement for the program is a math requirement. Essentially what she's looking for is Algebra 2 or higher, Algebra 2 with a B or higher. So if you took Algebra 2 in high school and you did well with it, that's great. We'd be perfectly fine accepting that. Alternatives to that though is if you were to take our version of Algebra 2 at STIC, it's a developmental class, so you can take that, or a higher level math. So let's say, you know, you're someone who's comfortable with statistics. Let's say you're comfortable with technical math. Feel free to take those classes and we'll take that in consideration as well. We're looking for, once again, a grade of a B or higher. The third option, just like the English, we will also take consideration for students who have placed into Math 101 or higher with the placement exam. And once again, you have to be a STIC student or have been accepted to STIC to have access to take the placement exam. So the next option is medical terminology. It is a 3-credit course that we offer at STIC. There's no prerequisites to take the course. It's 3 credits, roughly 15 weeks, depending on when you're taking it. But she will also accept what's called a challenge exam. So a challenge exam is a little bit different. Well, it's different than the placement exam. With the challenge exam, you are essentially saying, I already know this information. I don't want to spend $700+ and spend 15 weeks to prove it. So what I will do is I will pay $7.50 to our testing center and take this test that is pass-fail. If you pass it, then it would just cost $3 a credit to get it onto your transcript. So that is an option for students. But just keep in mind that students who choose to take the challenge exam, when we are grading their rubric, they will be considered of getting the lowest score possible, which would be a C. The reason we do that is because we don't know if you've passed that with flying colors or if you just scrape by with it. So that's something to consider when applying to this program. So knowing that you can take the course or do the challenge exam. Very rarely, it does happen on occasion, if you are someone with a healthcare background and you have a minimum of an associate's degree and you believe that you are very well know plenty about when it comes to medical terminology, you can reach out to Dr. Gorman and she may consider waiving the requirement, but that's something that would have to be waived by Dr. Gorman. You'd have to reach out to her directly and she would have to approve that. The next section is actually a 2-parter. So once again, we are looking for high school or college level biology with a B or higher. It can be, like I mentioned, it can be high school or it can be college level. College level, it can be an intro to bio, it could be our general bio, whatever you prefer. The second part of that is completion of A&P1 within the last 5 years, and that is a grade of a C or higher. You can also only repeat that A&P1 one time within a 5-year period. We want to see, it's a very, very important class. I will say when it comes to your prerequisites, they're all important, but having strong grades in A&P1 definitely helps prepare you best for this program. So just something to be mindful of. We're also looking for basic computer skills. So it's a computer basics class that we offer at STIC. We also offer, just like the medical terminology, we also offer a challenge exam for the computer basics course. So you can consider that if you are pretty confident when it comes to computer basics. Another way though is if you have a bachelor's degree or higher, you can get that requirement waived. So nothing to provide. If you already have a bachelor's degree, just make sure we have your official transcript that will show that you have your bachelor's degree, and we'll waive it on our own. There is research skills. So research skills at STIC, it's a 1-credit 8-week course. It's offered through our library so that you can take that. The challenge exam is also available for that as well too. And that can also be, if you are somebody with a bachelor's degree, once again, with a bachelor's degree, that can also be waived as well too. You would not have to provide anything but your college transcript that shows that you have attained your bachelor's degree. We do require, so this is one of those complicated things. So if you are a student that's considering applying for this upcoming fall semester, fall 2021, this section is waived for this upcoming semester. We don't know what to expect for the following year, but one requirement we have is observation hours. So like I said, fall 2021, don't worry about it. If you're planning on applying in the future, come back and check maybe around the fall to see if we've had any updates to this. But essentially what we're looking is for 12 observation hours, 6 hours inpatient, 6 hours outpatient. If you need help searching for one, we actually give some suggestions on the verification observation hours, but essentially it can be any inpatient, it can be any outpatient. It doesn't have to be with a PTA, it can be with a PT as well too. Let's see. And then the last section is SAT requirements. So we're looking for scores in writing and math, 450 or higher. I will say though, most commonly, students do not submit their SAT scores. They do the alternative option. So if they have a 3.0 college GPA or higher with English 101 and minimum of 15 credits, then we can waive that. SAT requirement. So I will say the majority of the students end up going by the 3.0 GPA the majority of the time. And then the last section is not a requirement, but it's highly encouraged. And this is something especially for students who may be a transfer student. This is something called the admissions checklist. It is not required, but it is highly encouraged that students turn in an admissions checklist. What this essentially does, and actually I have the paper copy right here. So essentially what it does is it considers you put in your information, and then on the back side, it lays out all the prerequisite requirements for the program. So you start with, did you complete an application? Yes. Did you turn in your high school transcript? Yes. Did you take a math? If yes, are you using your high school math? Are you using a college level math? Did you take the placement exam? Essentially, it goes through all the prerequisites that way. This is not, like I mentioned, a requirement, but just by doing that, it will give you an additional point in consideration for the program. We have, like I mentioned, the paper checklist, which you can download and scan and email to us, or mail it to us, fax it to us. But now we also have an electronic version too. So there's a specific one for you if you are a STIC student. There's actually a specific one too if you are a non-STIC student. There's no right way to do it, whatever works out best for you. But like I said, I highly encourage it. And just to clarify too, so there's no confusion, it is not the same as an application. So the admissions checklist is separate from the application. We would need an application to the PTA program for the fall semester you are applying to, and then this would be in addition to that. So I hope that makes sense. I am just quickly bringing up, make sure that there's no questions so far. Okay, good. Great. So like I mentioned too, at any point, if you have questions, do not hesitate to put them in the chat. We can answer them as we go and as it sees fit. So these are the basic prerequisites that are required to get into the program. All of these have to be completed or waived to be considered for this program. Some additional notes though. So if you are in the process of taking a program, let's say your class, I apologize. So you're in the process of taking the class right now for the spring 2021 semester. We will accept midterm grades. So if you are in the process of taking these classes, if you are a STIC student, you do not have to do anything. We will pull those midterm grades for you. If you are taking these courses at another institution, then what we would do is we would ask to have your professor either send an email on their school email or send us a letter on letterhead, just indicating that you are their student, what class you're currently taking, and what your midterm grade is, and we will consider that. It's going to have stronger weight to have the class completed ahead of time, but we will consider those midterm grades. Additionally, if you scored a B in A&P 1, but you scored a C in the biology high school or college level, then that will be exempt. You wouldn't have to worry about retaking that biology requirement as long as you have a B in A&P 1 at minimum. A&P1 and A&P2 have to be completed within 5 years to the start of the program. So those are the only two requirements that have a time frame, is Anatomy and Physiology 1 and Anatomy and Physiology 2. So I talked about the basic ways of the basic prerequisites to the program, the ones that have to be completed beforehand. What we have down here is, if you look under ways of strengthening your application, we're going to scroll a little bit further down. But ways of strengthening your application is if you have a high GPA, high school or college, if you have work experience within the healthcare field. What we ask for students to do in this situation is just get a letter from your employer, just indicating your position, your job, what you do there. Another way that students can go about it as well too is a letter from HR. Just states, you know, Joe Schmo has worked at this location from this time frame. This is their job description, and we'll perfectly accept that as well too. Students who are currently enrolled at STIC and have completed a minimum of 12 credits, those will also help them be considered as well too. And then there's also a list of additional coursework that will also be considered. So if you look down here where it says English Composition 1 and 2, Anatomy and Physiology 2 within the last 5 years, General Psychology, Intro to Sociology, and Developmental Psychology. What these classes are essentially courses that are within the curriculum for the PTA program. Students who have completed any of these courses ahead of time can only get additional consideration towards the program. So by not having these, you will not be penalized, but having these will only help increase your chances of getting into the program. In addition to increasing your chances of getting into the program, you also would not have to worry about retaking these courses once in the program, as long as they meet that minimum grade requirement or that time frame for the A&P. I hope that makes sense. So let me know, flag it down if it doesn't make sense. So like I said, they are not required, but having these will only strengthen your chances of getting in. I will say the students that do get into the PTA program, the majority have at least completed a portion of these, if not all of them. It's something that, like I said, it not only helps prepare you, but it sets you up, set these things up a little bit better. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm seeing
That's
that.
okay, Andrea. I was just going to say that there was just a question about microbiology counting, and I had typed in that it does count as part of that college level bio prereq.
Perfect. Thank you for taking that on. I
Mhm.
just saw that
That's
right
okay.
as you added that in. So perfect. Good question. So yep, it will help there. Let's see. So those are the basic prerequisites to the program. That was a great question to ask. And then, yeah, so in regards to applying, the way to apply is just doing it once again on the website. So apply to stcc.edu, get started. If you are a current student, this is actually going to be the same method that you would do to change your major. This is actually seems to be something that's confusing. So the application to the school is the same as the change of major. It will be done in this method where you log in, you either create your own login, or you sign into your old login, and you would be applying for the PTA program for fall 2021. If you are a current student, then we just pull all of your information that we already have. Unless you've taken courses at another college, then we would need those official transcripts. If you are a transfer student, then in addition to your application, we would also need a copy of your high school transcript, HiSET or GED, and any official college transcripts that you have taken at other institutions. So this can include, and like I mentioned, official. Ways of getting official is it could either be a letter in the mail. Sometimes it can also be something they're doing it electronically now through what's called Parchment or Clearinghouse. So if you are a transfer student and they offer electronic versions of sending it officially, just make sure it gets sent directly to the admissions office. We're the ones that will be taking in all that information. and collecting it for review. Don't send anything to Dr. Gorman. It'll get lost somewhere along the way. Not on her fault, not by her. But so yeah, that's basically a little bit of an overview of the PTA program, the application process. Any questions related to that, please feel free to jot them down. We really appreciate it. I'm going to now pass this off to Dr. Gorman. She's going to take over and she's going to talk a little bit about the program itself, hopefully perk your interest and answer any of your questions in regards to that. So
Thank you, Andrea. So, I do have to leave in about 10 minutes because I have to go to another meeting. But any other questions, if I don't get to them, please reach out to Andrea or myself. I'm going to put my email in the chat since we can't hand out our business cards right now. But the program is a full-time program, which I believe Andrea mentioned already. And we, except for the fall, and we tend to, most of our courses, when they're in person in a non-COVID world, we have our classes usually in the mornings of most days, and we have classes Monday through Thursday. Friday we leave open because that's usually a day that we use for clinical work for students as they move through the program. We do have the first semester has our kinesiology and A&P2 if you haven't taken it, and an intro to PT course. And then the second semester is measurements and exercise with our PTA2 course and a human diseases course. And then third semester is neuro and ortho. And then fourth semester, the final semester before graduation, is full-time clinical placements. We do have a pro bono clinic on site that we collaborate with our OTA partners, our occupational therapy assistant partners, and treat patients in the community that have exhausted their insurance benefits, so no longer have the ability to access physical therapy or occupational therapy services. So we use that as another way that we incorporate and integrate the information that we're teaching in class and in labs and actually applying it to patients. We've also started using a lot more simulation for our students and in the program. So that's something that has been a positive experience from COVID. There are a few of those, but that is one of them. The other thing that has been a positive experience is that we have started steering away from textbooks and using more physical therapy apps for information. It's a lot more economical for students and provides students with access to information on their phone or their computer. So it's a little bit more user-friendly and ready at a moment's notice. So that's kind of the overview of the program. The one thing that I do try to stress during information sessions is that this is an intense program, and students really try to maintain full-time jobs while they're being full-time students in the program. And that is an area that does cause some stress. It is a source of stress. So, I understand the financial ramifications of not maintaining a full-time job, but it does, it really does require a lot of time management and a lot of, self-motivation to be really focused on the program and to carve out that study time. During full-time clinical placements in that fourth and final semester, there are 7 and 8 week clinicals that are full-time in a setting. And we try to do 2 different types of settings. So it could be like an outpatient setting and then acute care hospital setting. But you're working the hours of your clinical instructor, and that can range anywhere from 7 a.m. To as late as 7 or 8 p.m. because some outpatient clinics are open that late. We do have a couple of sites that have Saturday hours. So, it's quite difficult to work full-time at a job and work full-time in a clinical experience. So, that is definitely something that students really need to be aware of prior to entering the program. We just received our numbers for our graduating class of 2020, and everyone who graduated and took the exam passed. So we are at 100% pass rate for our licensure exam. And out of all of those students, 100% are currently employed. And they took the exam in January because of COVID, kind of postponed clinical placements, but they were eligible to take the exam in January. And less than a month away from taking their exam, they all have jobs. So I think that that says a lot for the profession, that despite the circumstances that the pandemic has caused, our students are still able to find placements and pass the exam and have jobs. So that's a big win. You know, currently we're having a hard time getting clinical sites for our current senior students, but that's a whole other conversation. But you know, for now, I think that that's definitely says a lot for the adaptability of our students, being able to pivot to change our modalities that we've been using and still be successful on the exam says a lot for our students and a lot for our program and our faculty. So I since I am the program chair, I think that it's a big thing for our faculty. I'm one of 2 full-time faculty for the program. My colleague, Dr. Gazowski, is responsible for our clinical education placement. Him and I work very closely together. We work together as clinicians in a couple of different settings in outpatient and home care. And now we work together full-time in this program. And then we have one adjunct faculty member who teaches 1 class each semester for our students. So we it's a small program, small department, and I think that that is how we've been able to maintain our success, is being small and ensuring that our students can find jobs by not accepting many students to where we would saturate the local Springfield market. So I think that that kind of sums up the program. Did I forget anything, Andrea?
I don't think so. I think it was right on the money. So
okay, all right. So I have to go and run to another meeting, but if you have any questions, either ask Andrea and she can reach out to me, or I put my email in the chat. But I appreciate your time, and thank you, Andrea, for getting me the link and setting this up for me today.
we're glad to have you. Yeah, not a problem. Thanks so much, Dr. Gorman.
All right, we'll see you soon. Bye.
Great, thank you. So, and as you saw right now too, it was, I apologize if she already touched base with it, but with COVID going on right now, the way that obviously I'm at home, we're in a cushy setting, she was on campus. So the way things are set up right now for our healthcare students is lectures are online, but labs are in person. So she had a lab today where students came in, they are low density labs, meaning that there's not more than, I believe, 8 students per lab. So you're still getting in to the classroom, you're still getting hands-on, but we're doing it in as safe as an environment as we possibly can. We are hopeful for the fall, but we anticipate it to be fairly similar. We're not ready to jump right back to exactly how it used to be. But we're getting there. So we're moving in the right direction. We're creeping in the right direction very, very slowly. We want to protect our students, our faculty, our patients that come in and our students work with. So I hope this was helpful. Any last minute questions that I can assist you with, please feel free to type them down. You can even feel free to unmute. Oh, great. When do we usually get the program accepted results? Great question. I missed that part. So yes, so the deadline to apply, not the deadline, when we start reviewing the program after March 31st. Ideally, we don't have a set time frame. I would say wait at least a month. If you don't hear anything, feel free to touch base with myself or the admissions office just to touch base on the status. This past year, it took a little bit longer because it started right at the beginning of the pandemic. So we had to basically get up and leave and figure it out. So it did take a little bit longer. It could happen again this year where it might take a little bit longer, but at least we'd have a better idea of when it would get in. So I would say give it a month and then feel free to harass us all you want. But you're right. You have plans, you've got things to do. So yeah, if you don't hear by the end of April, beginning of May, don't hesitate to touch base. Good question. And I think I mentioned it too. Anything that needs to be submitted can go to the admissions office, admissions@stcc.edu. That is the easiest way to go about things right now and have things sent. We are still checking mail, so if anything's mailed in, we are on campus twice a week. As long as it's postmarked by the March 31st, it's perfectly fine. Good. And in any questions you have, if anytime you have questions, do not hesitate to come directly to me. Dr. Gorman is also very helpful. She's also very busy. So you may, it may be a quicker response to get it from me. So do not hesitate to come to me first. And then if we need to go to Dr. Gorman, we can absolutely do that. Well, feel free. We're wrapping up. I'll hang on for a couple more minutes in case there's any other questions. I appreciate you coming. I appreciate you joining us. I wish you the best of luck. And please, 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 any questions you have, do not hesitate to touch base. We're here to help you. We're here to get you, push you in the right direction. Oh, another good question. How many people usually apply? That's a good question. That's a common question. It depends. Some years it could be 100 applicants. Other years it can be 75 applicants. But here's the thing though, there's a difference between competitive applicants and non-competitive applicants. So when we talk about competitive applicants, it's going to come smaller. So what happens is when we first start reviewing applications, let's say the pool looks this big, you know, we have all the applications there, 100 plus applicants. We start reviewing it and then we realize, you know, there's like going to be a handful of students that are applying right out of high school. So maybe they haven't taken the time to review the prerequisite requirements. Maybe they don't even know that prerequisite requirements exist or where they start. So because they haven't made their they haven't done their prerequisites, they're not going to be considered. So the pool starts this big, it's going to get smaller. Then we're going to have a handful of students who maybe started their prerequisites, but maybe, you know, they're rushing to get it done. They haven't completed everything, or maybe their grades aren't meeting the mark. So it's going to get a little bit smaller. So, you know, even though we started off with maybe 75 to 100 applications, when it comes down to serious competitive applicants, it's fairly safe to cut that down by half. So, you know, I always tell students nothing is a sure thing, but the best thing you can do is make sure you are meeting with admissions to make sure everything looks good. Working with your advisor, if you're a STIC student, to make sure you're taking all the right classes and you're registered for all the correct classes, and focusing on your grades. So I tell students all the time, you know yourself best. You know your schedule, you know your academic abilities. Figure out, even if it may take a little bit longer, figure out the path that's going to work best for you, where you can take the right amount of classes, but can make you the most successful. So you saw a lot of those prerequisites. A lot of them said, a couple of them said grades of B or higher. A few of them said grades of C or higher. Realistically, students getting into this program have primarily A's and B's, maybe the occasional C. So that's just something just to give you an idea and something just to work for, because, you know, you may have completed all the prerequisites, but there may be students that have had stronger grades and therefore they're more likely to get admitted. That's just my best advice when it comes to that. And at any point too, this time of year is very, very popular for me. If you want to sit down with me, review everything, double, triple check that everything is in, don't hesitate to make an appointment with me. I'd be happy to speak with you. Great. All right, great. So any other questions, feel free to jump on. Anything else, but I'll wait a couple more minutes regardless. So thank you so much for being here.